We say a big hello to you as we're broadcasting live for the first time on our show. You'll see in the backdrop here, kickoff, Sats and Webby, who broadcast from this studio on Saturdays. That's how your rugby league weekend can start, with Sats and the Webmeister. But we're here just running a demo, if you don't mind. We're running the block play. We're the lead runner. Sometimes you're going to hit us, sometimes you're not. It doesn't matter. But my man here, who's running a good line, always did. The great Scopey. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, Sugar. I think I led the league in decoy runs back in 2013. One of the great decoy runners of NRL history.
Really?
Actually, so this is the perfect spot for us, Sugar. But yeah, looking forward to the show. Bit of a different setup, but I'm ready to go, mate.
The Dally M decoy runner doyen. That's who we've got here, the great Scopey. We welcome you at 1170, by the way, in Sydney as well. 1300 01 1170. It is the Michelle Watt Scopey. The
Pfeiffer.
Yeah, why the Pfeiffer?
It's the Michelle Pfeiffer. 5 hours, 2 hours of the run home, 3 hours of a call, and a little bit different than last week, Shug. We were travelling up the highway.
We were
to Newcastle, but we're back here in the studio for the Knights Eels game, and a really intriguing game because a couple of outs and a couple of players I think would still be like the biggest question marks we've got on Origin.
Yep.
I would argue that we've got two of them playing for Parramatta tonight. The outside backs.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
What's it going to look like? Is Zach Lomax going to be a part of the back five? And then obviously Mitch Moses with the 7 and 6 for New South Wales.
And, of course, Bradman Best, who is out, by the way, folks. He is out of the clash. Bradman Best, he's done nothing wrong. He's not even been mentioned for New South Wales.
Yeah. I think the big one, and he sort of just reminded everyone last week, and he had a huge performance in Game 2 last year. The reason Bradman played Game 3 was because he was out.
Yeah.
And Latrell Mitchell, unfortunately, is back. So for Bradman Best, not unfortunate for New South Wales, and a lot of us expect his name to be called. When do New South Wales do it? Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Why? Yeah, I've always thought, why don't they just do it together? And the one thing that I've said for at least 3 years, just with the growth of content and like when you watch, me and Brooksy and we love our NBA, the All-Stars, the announcements, the coaches, the captains. Like, I don't know why we don't. That would be a big earn for the NRL. I don't know why they've never brought that in.
What about something like the draft, Scopey, where because you may pick a team depending on who they pick. So maybe you go, okay, New South Wales lost the toss. You've got to lead the call.
Ooh,
so you go, number 1, Dylan Edwards. And they've got 5 minutes to react, Queensland. And you snake ladder it, right? So, okay, you're going Edwards. We're going to go number 1, Kalen Ponga. So it stays with Queensland now. We'll go number 2, Xavier Coates. So then they go, okay, we're number 2, Brian Tottle. And it's just a bit of theatre. It goes for an hour. But maybe Blues are waiting there to go, okay, we will pick this player if Queensland don't pick this player.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That's a good content idea. I think you just maybe bring it down from 5 to a minute. I reckon you could have a plan, right?
Okay, you don't need 5 minutes.
Yeah, you could get it done quicker because then that's maybe about half an hour worth.
Yep.
And I reckon that would be highly entertaining.
Entertaining. But who wouldn't, tune into that? And by the way, we always get the leaked team. Who's leaking that team? Like who actually is it? Who's the official leaker for each state? Why do we know?
So you would have. What do you reckon? So here's another question on top of that question. The selection process, the coaches, the obvious ones. Yeah. You'd imagine an assistant coach with the runs on the board like Bellamy would have a huge say in what's happening for New South Wales, and then I guess there'd be 3 or 4 on like the Queensland and New South Wales board.
But are we not like? I love how the Junos find it out, right? But what disappoints me and breaks my heart to a certain extent, because I value solidarity, is why can't we just not know? I'm happy not to know. I would love not know as a state, but we always leak, and it says to me, if I ever see a team who's completely wrong that got leaked, I'm backing that team because I know they're staunch. They have solidarity. Why do we have to have somebody leak it all the bloody time? Why?
Relationship, Sugar, wanting to be first, just the nature of what we do in the media.
Why?
So someone just getting on the front foot and getting those extra clicks and getting the extra views. I'm with you. I'd love the old school
But you know
in-house.
that we will know both sides before they're officially named, right?
Yeah. Apart from, I think there's normally like one, selection, a couple of selections on the bench that are dependent on health, how they get through the weekend.
Yep.
And maybe there are probably one or two players that are really contesting positions. But do you think both coaches now would be locked into who their best 17 is despite injuries? Or do you think Zach Lomax is competing with Tom Trbojevic? Like a lot of people have seen, a lot of teams, it's either Turbo at this stage or Zach Lomax. And then obviously the big one is Jerome, Mitch, and Nathan. Laurie would 100% know where he's going. And then on the other side, all the chat is around Dearden and DCE.
Manly Cowboys.
Dearden and DCE. So is that a genuine battle for the 7 jersey?
Maybe.
At North Queensland tomorrow afternoon.
What if Dearden goes absolutely berserker in number 7? Who knows? That is thinking about rugby league, folks. 1300 01 1170, text 0457 736 736. Now, we are going to be broadcasting on YouTube. So the whole episode in one cut is going to be on YouTube. So if you want to have your say, 1300 01 1170 is the way to do that. And the best contributor, Signa Boost Power Bank. Tradie Hour here, thanks to Blue Star. Exclusive offers for tradies on Australia's leading air conditioner brands only at Blue Star Air Conditioning. Now, a member of last night's winning Blues side last year, New South Wales won the first game, Scopey, and then Queensland in the first ever best of 3 series for the women rushed over the top of them emphatically. They end up winning it. Not this time around. Olivia Koenig, who was just sublime. She was supreme. And New South Wales 2-0, now looking for a clean sweep. So whilst Queensland had the win last year in the Women's State of Origin, first time in a best of 3 series, New South Wales will be hoping to claim the first ever clean sweep of the Origin. Sportsbet market update. We'll go through all the prices, all thanks to Sportsbet. We'll look back at that game for the New South Wales dominance over Queensland, and we'll also preview the rest of the weekend's games for round 11. Kennedy Cherrington, she's going to be the lady who was a big part of last night. Killed it, as she always does. She's going to join us from the New South Wales side. Can I ask you this, Scopey? I'm still trying to get it out of my teeth, but I turned up here moments before we came on air with a packet of Twisties.
Yeah.
I haven't had Twisties I don't reckon I've bought a packet of Twisties for 10 years.
That's so weird. The other day when we were leaving doing the run home, I had a packet of chicken Twisties for the first time. I just walked in. I was waiting for my Uber just across the road. Went into the store and just was looking around, bit bored, just kill a little bit of time, kill a couple of minutes. I ended up buying chicken Twisties. And you're rolling with the cheese. You're a cheese man.
Which you have declined, by the way, off air.
Yeah, I declined. Yeah, declined. I just had a feed. Ashley declined.
Ashley declined
the cheese Twisties today. It's because I treated myself on Wednesday and then I just I tucked into a bit of a feed.
What'd you have?
I had the green curry chicken and rice. Nice little feed from just up the road. So I was maybe pre-green chicken curry. Then I would have got involved, but no cheesy twisties for me.
The reason I bring it up is it just brought me back to the old day. Is there some kind of food or snack that you haven't had in so long, but you kind of wish, I haven't had that for a while? And that was me with the Twisties. I actually saw it there and I thought, I've not looked at you eyeball to eyeball in so long. Let's have this dance. And Twisty gave me a bit of a nod and said, yeah, let's have this dance. And we had that dance.
You know, the nostalgic one, I don't think they're even available anymore. Maybe Brooksy, we're of the same age.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my chips at school, remember Burger Man? Did you ever have Burger Man?
Burger Rings?
Burger Man.
No, Burger Man.
They were like these little configurations of a Burger Man, sort of similar to Burger Rings, had a bit of flavour about them. If maybe someone can get us on the text line and let us know if you remember Burger Man back in the day. That was my go-to. That was my go-to at primary school. So
really,
I'm born '86. So if you're sort of grew up in the '90s, I reckon the going to school in the early to mid '90s, I reckon you're rocking Burger Man.
I'd hate to say it's the first packet of chips. I don't buy chippies, but I bought the cheese and onion. And somebody here had left. Oh, there's the Burger Man. Thank you very much, tourist.
There they are. Yeah, that's them. That's them, Turi.
Somebody had left. This was. I feel embarrassed to talk about this, but somebody here in sales it's Friday had left garlic bread from Pizza Hut. Right, it was Brooksy, and there was 3 pieces left, including the little piece at the end. You know, the crusty piece at the end. And I still had some cheese and onion chippies. and I made myself a little mini sandwich, cheese and onion chips with the garlic bread. Oh, geez, it was good.
Oh, yeah. I like a good sandwich and chip combo. I'm a Vegemite and salt and vinegar. Chip combo.
Vegemite.
That's my go. You like that one too, Turi?
Yeah,
Good
Turi
man.
loves that.
Turi's in for that.
1300 01 1170. Lots of texts coming through. Tootsie's been on fire, by the way. We should share those tips. Tootsie's been very, very good. But what have you got there, Scope?
Yeah, there we go. Got a text coming in from Josh. Apparently, they were bought out from the other brand. So I remember do you remember Tubes? Tubes?
Yes.
So Tubes, apparently, they look at them flying through now. Look at all the text coming through.
Yep.
Apparently, Tubes bought them out, and then they must have changed the flavour a bit. But they were like, I can't remember having them since primary school, which I would have started high school 97. So I wouldn't have had a packet of Burger Man. But when I think about chips as a kid, they were my go-to.
Kind of feels summer content, but while we're down this rabbit warren,
it is summer content.
What was your if there's a pie chart for your order at school from the canteen?
Yep.
What was the go-to?
So at high school, it was a chicken and corn roll.
Yeah.
Loved a chicken and corn roll. And then what I'd do was if I had a big day, because we were a sports school and we trained in the morning, I'd put the chicken and corn roll and then buy a salad roll and then make like a chicken burger because we didn't have any burgers. So it was my own little made chicken burger at school. So
I like that.
Yeah, that was my go-to.
I like that. Coming up, as I said today, we've got Sportsbet Market Update. We'll look back on the big win, New South Wales on their way to a clean sweep against the Queenslanders. Preview the rest of round 11. Well, the rest of the round of 11 is all of round of 11 because that all kicks off this afternoon. We'll cover that game, that first game at the very least. Newcastle taking on Parramatta. We look forward to that, where the Knights, well, you and I are up there with Adam Blair, who, by the way, very, very good young caller, Adam Blair. We called that. We thought Newcastle were home. We thought Desi was in big strife, but off the canvas they went. Is it another round of upsets? Selwyn Cobbo, he could be about to test the open market. Selwyn Cobbo, what's the sort of dosh that Selwyn Cobbo could command on the open market? It is a great time to be off contract at the moment, it appears. 1300 01 1170, text 0457 736 736 8833 for those in New Zealand. Brief break. Scopey and I, we're waiting right here. So you do what you need to do, and as soon as you come back, we haven't not moved. We're here on the Run Home with Joel and Fletch.
It's an NRL news update thanks to Rogers Willex, trailer air brake axles, suspensions and couplings.
Hot off the press. Literally, this has just landed. Michael Chammas, Danny Wadler reporting this. West Tigers board to discuss early release for Lachlan Galvin. All right, Tigers fans, buckle up for this one. Glasses are going on. We need to not miss any of this. West Tigers board, Scopey, will on Monday discuss the possibility of whether the release Lachlan Galvin from the final year of his deal in 2026. The Tigers power brokers want to open a conversation about what to do with the talented playmaker, including the potential of an early release from his current contract. The Tigers have been bullish about their intent to hold Galvin to his contract. However, there is the added layer of a threatened legal battle that looms around accusations of bullying, and it goes on. Thoughts?
The main pro, as this is just as I'm reading going through, the main pro is it makes sense for Lachlan Galvin and the West Tigers to reach an agreement where a player who's clearly doesn't want to be there can go to another situation and be in a situation where he wants to actually play footy for the team that he's playing for.
Yep.
The con is, and the reason why I wouldn't do it, you've got a player of Lachlan Galvin's stature who I believe is on roughly 300,000.
Yeah, 350 they're saying, around that mark, yeah. Yep.
I dare say if he goes to another team, he's going to get closer to $1 million. That's just off the market for what young players and especially halves are getting in the game right now. The con is you let go of a player that's of a value of $1 million at another club, and you've got him on the books for 350. It just we'll see how it plays out. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think the con that you mentioned is how do we as a game sort this situation out? Where think about if you are into the business of share trading, and because effectively this currently is what we're asking clubs to do. You buy a share for $3.50, right, which in the case could be the $350,000 reportedly for Lachlan Galvin. And at the time, that share is only probably valued at $1.70. But you think it's got some upside, so you pay $3.50 for it with your option.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, this share is now worth $10. Or you tell me, what's the share worth?
$10 is
$1 million.
Would be thereabouts, and you'd like to think that
$9, $10.
If he was at $10.
Right. Okay. So how do we, as a game, like the Tigers for me have to have a win out of this. They can't just hand back. They can't see the stock market and see that GAL, that's the Galvin stock code. GAL is currently trading at $8.70, but there's buyers wanting to buy. Now it's worth $9, and now it's worth $10, and the Tigers are forced to sell at $3.50. Like, that kind of, to me, is what it is. So how do we get around that situation?
Yeah, it's a tough one because it does go both ways. And just recently, the way we've seen in the last couple of weeks with the way, like, let's use Dom Young as an example, going the other way.
Good example.
They would have bought his stock at, $5, the Roosters.
Yep.
Now you could argue because of the poor form that he's had at the Roosters and their lack of development, his stock's probably worth about $1.50.
Yeah,
$2
at $1.80. I would have said $1.80.
$1.80, $2.
Yeah, no, that's right.
So now Roosters are trying to get rid of him for $0.
Yep. Yeah.
And they want someone else to chip in the $5. So it's a tricky, you can't have it both ways, right? Like this is the way the game is, and if you allow it to go one way, and when I've brought up that argument before with regards to players that are making decisions like Lachlan Galvin, and like Dylan Brown and like DCN, I've been sympathetic to clubs and fans that have really bought into the player, and you love the stock at $3.50 when it's now currently playing at $9. But there are ones that go the other way, and it's I guess the biggest argument that was brought up to me when I mentioned that Lachlan Galvin's only young in his career and the Tigers they are owed more because they gave him the start. Like the reason that that argument doesn't hold up is, like, even though he's young and he's at the Tigers, Sugar, he's still grown up in the game. He knows of multiple situations like Cheese and Dom Young.
Yep.
Like, even though it hasn't happened to him directly or to his friends, the management is well aware of it. Yep. So that's where that's just the nature of the game, and it's a bit yuck, and I don't like it, but it's not like I want to accept it, but I don't have a compromise.
Okay, what do you think about this? Well, two things. Firstly, one, and they're both completely different. One is to stop the compassionate grounds. I want to come home from North Queensland or Canberra or Melbourne or New Zealand, right? So therefore, then you say, okay, that's fine, and we do understand there will be scenarios where you want to come home for compassionate grounds. You cannot sign for a contract in those terms. So, for example, Lachlan Galvin, who, if they decided to let him go, then whoever signs him has to pick him up for $350, which is an absolute bargain for them. So you can't break a contract earlier to get more.
I like that. I don't hate that.
Okay.
But you know what they're going to do with the Lachlan Galvin. He'll go straight to the
back end
the next team, and then it'll spike from he's going to get the
$3.50 and then
next going to be
10. Yeah, made up. Yep.
What about the other way? So what's the compromise for the other way?
The other way is this. Yep. The other way is this. So my thinking is that the salary cap as a whole, yes, we want everyone to be on an even path. Okay. But if the West Tigers already have a ticket on Lachlan Galvin for, we're calling it allegedly $350,000. If the Roosters or the Bulldogs, whoever it is, says we're going to pay him $900,000, well, then, if the Roosters wear the $900,000 for Galvin, is there any reason why the West Tigers shouldn't have an extra $550 in their cap for great shopping?
Some compensation for losing a player.
Well, just for identifying the player as reward.
Yep.
We're not paying trading fees like you see in the soccer or you see in the NBA or the NFL. You're just purely going, okay, well, we're still going to see Lachlan Galvin in the cap at his true price, which is at the Roosters or the Bulldogs or whoever the case may be.
Yep.
But the West Tigers, by you doing this, you've actually got an extra $550 in your cap because you were very clever enough to buy a player worth... And conversely, Dom Young, where, the Roosters, you've signed a kid for $500.
Yep.
He's gone to the Roosters for $180. Or sorry, the Knights.
Yeah.
then
You
you've
wear
got
the
to
cap?
carry the balance of that as well.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question. I don't hate that. So a team that has a player that's, for whatever reason, compassionate grounds, wants to develop his game more, wants to move from a situation where he's out to be closer to the family. You don't get any more when you move on, and that club where you leave gets afforded more money on the cap because of it.
Yep.
But also, vice versa, the opposite way. If you no longer feel like you're getting value from a player, then you cannot unload that salary cap hit to another team.
That's
Is that
right.
what you're saying?
Correct.
I don't hate that.
Correct.
I don't hate that.
So,
like, both ways, you get at least the club that's losing someone that they don't want to lose, they get looked after. And then the other way, if the club does want to, move on from a player, they at least take a bit of a hit.
I tell you what, folks, we fingers on the pulse here because the story, West Tigers board to discuss early release for Galvin, that was written by Michael Chammas and Danny Wildler. Well, guess what? After the break, Michael Chammas from the Sydney Morning Herald, he'll join us right here. Very nimble, Brooks. Very nimble, the tourist. We are ready for you, folks. The run home with Joel and Fletch, scope today. Amy, thank you very much. The Tradie Hour, thanks to Blue Star, exclusive offers for tradies on Australia's leading air conditioner brands. Only at Blue Star Air Conditioning and Tradies, by the way. You can walk pain-free. Win ergonomics, comfort, work boots. Visit sen.com.au/win. Now, Scopey, for those who don't know, the world of being a journalist, tough. So, as an example, Michael Chammas, who we just shared that big story, his week probably looked this way. Come on, darling, can you spend some time with the family? We've got stuff to do. I've got this big story to drop. Danny Wilder and I have been working on this. We're about to pull the trigger, and then I'm all yours. And that's exactly what's happened. West Tigers board to discuss early release for Galvin, written by Michael Chammas and Danny Wildler. And then you're finally down there at the park with the kids, and then you get this call. Hey, Mick, Scopey and Jolie want you to come on. It's a big story. You broke it with Wildler. We want you to share it. And Michael Chammas, to his credit, Scopey, he's stood up and he's ready to go. Mick Chammas, how are you, mate?
Good, boys. How you going?
Does that sound right?
Well, I don't know if you can hear the kids in the background, but that's okay. I'll pretend I'm professional. Like I was supposed to be a day off, but as you said, Wadler and I had a bit of a conversation, and it could be some significant developments out of the Tiger Town in the next few days, depending what happens with this board meeting on Monday.
Hey, Mick, we obviously, the boys here and the girls here, they put together our rundown, and Fletch and I, we just sort of fly by the seat of our pants, and we're playing ears up radio. But I tell you what, mate, just as a peruser, you've had a big year. So often we've seen on the rundown story by Chammas. It feels like you've had a big 12 months. Do you feel that's the case?
No, mate, full credit to the boys, isn't it? Is that what you're supposed to say when someone gives you a rap? Just doing my job. No, I appreciate the rap, boys, but it's the way it is at the moment. It's not just, I think, with rugby league, the constant news cycle, 24/7, all these podcasts, and even for us, the game's changed for us the way we do things. Because 15 years ago, you sort of focus on the paper and holding things for the next morning. Good luck holding things 5 minutes these days. As soon as you write a story, it's everywhere, or you have to chase someone else's story. So it's just, it is full on. It is full on. You just can't have a day off. You can't switch off, because if you do, someone else will beat you, and that happens regularly. But yeah, I appreciate it. But as I said, working well with Danny at the moment. Danny's someone who's been around the game a long time and broken some of the biggest stories in the game. So yeah, it's great to work with him.
I've got breaking news for you that when we come down the corridors of SEN, if we turn left, it's the Joel and Fletch studio, where Jimmy Smith and Matty White and Vossi and Brandy are there. But there's a little sneaky door on the right-hand side, and it is a sneaky studio where it is kickoff Saturday League with Sats and Webby. And I just said to Brooksy and Tourist, I said, what if we break into this room, turn a few lights on, put the cameras on, and away we go? We've done that, and so far so good. It's on YouTube. You're our very first guest in this medium. We've never been live on YouTube, Scopey, but our man Mick Chammas, he's the first to do so. What have you got for him?
Yeah, well, there you go, Michael. Congratulations, mate. Welcome to the big leagues here at the run home. Mate, what you got feeling on the story?
Bad choice of guest, boys. You might be the last time you're doing it live on YouTube.
We might get shifted back to the other room. Michael, what's the gut feeling with the story, the meeting with the board? Which way do you have any mail on which way you think it's going to go?
Look, for them to have this sit down, and we know the Tigers have been bullish about the fact Galvin's going nowhere. We all assumed at some point the conversation would come up. I don't think it's a huge surprise that the Tigers board will have this discussion. We're getting closer to June 30. I don't think they have any appetite to leave him. Let him leave before June 30, right? They think that they have a pretty good team and they can do something special. And special for the Tigers is making the 8. If they can do that, what a fantastic year it has been. And letting Galvin go doesn't help their cause, right? So, but they know with this legal battle in the background that he wants to leave. I think Lachie Galvin's willing to it's simmered down, right? So they all just have taken a moment to take the emotion out of it. And I think the right thing has happened. They're going to have a conversation as a board on Monday and decide what to do next. I honestly think that by the end of the season, Lachie Galvin will play his last game for the club and he'll move on. And they don't want to go down his legal path. They don't want all this other thing. Because you can imagine what's going to happen if it gets ugly. And it already has got ugly. But they've managed to clean it up. They've managed to resolve the situation. And they're playing together now. And I think they can make the 8, boys. But I just feel it will get ugly again if they go down the path of not releasing him. And the Tigers know that. And they need to move ahead with their plans. They don't need another 12 months of distractions or a sideshow. I think, and as I said, I don't have the inside information. No one does. It depends on what happens on Monday. But I think that the Tigers will look to move in a direction, get something in return. Say to Isaac Moses, say to Lachie Galvin, if you want to leave, these are the conditions. Get us something in return, or a transfer fee, or a player, whatever it is. It's got to work in the Tigers' favour.
Yeah, okay, that was going to be my next question, mate. So it all looks like, I agree, mate. I think he'll probably move on by the end of the year. That's just my gut feeling with it. Do they have the answer within the 4 walls at the Tigers in Latu Fainu or Adam Dewey, or do you think if they do, come to a decision over the weekend about moving Lachie on, are they in the market, and do you have any idea who they would be looking at?
They've got big raps on Latu Fainu. I know that Jerome has a big opinion on him. I think Benji has a big rap on him. And I think they feel as though they can have that combination there with Jerome and it will work well. Where they feel they need to add some strength is to the back row, and they're speaking to Kai Pearce-Paul at the moment, and it sounds as though that's tracking along nicely to the point where I believe Kai Pearce-Paul will be a Tiger. Wow. Then they need some strike in the centres. So I think that's what their preference is, to probably focus on the outside backs, focus on the back row, get those 2 locked up. And I don't know what you think, boys. You've watched Fainu play, but he looks like he's got something. He looks like he's a pretty special player, and at least give him the chance. If they buy over the top of him, that's going to be problematic. So I don't think that's the plan of the West Tigers at the moment.
Kai Pearce-Paul to the West Tigers. I can't wait for the name change. Kai Wayne Pearce-Paul Sirinen. Can't wait for that, for him to join the West Tigers. Michael, can I just ask you this, right? So it's something that, and it's a question without notice, so I apologise for this, but say for example, as a hypothetical, now this won't happen, but I'm trying to have people understand the salary cap and what you can and can't do. Hypothetically, Dylan Brown, Parramatta weren't going where they needed to go, and they said, look, it's a distraction, so we're happy to let Dylan Brown go, and we do want to go all in on Lachie Galvin, so we'll take him, and, Tigers, you can have Dylan Brown, and we'll take Lachie Galvin. Now, that won't happen, right? But where I'm going to here, Michael, is that on the books, there might be people out there saying, well, you know what, we think they're worth both the same amount of money. But actually on the books, Dylan Brown's probably in for $850 or something like that, and Lachie Galvin's maybe in for $350. Salary cap wise, would it be as simple as, would the NRL allow a straight swap for someone like a Dylan Brown and a Galvin?
For the remainder of the season,
yes,
Sugar?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Or would the $350 and the $850, or whatever the alleged contract amounts are, play a big part in that to inhibit such a transfer?
Yeah, so you're saying that Dylan Brown ends up at the Tigers till the end of the season?
No, I don't think it'll happen. I'm just trying to give an example around the salary cap as it is, right?
Yeah.
So we know that Dylan Brown's on a lot more than Galvin. Could they do a straight swap, or would the salary cap prevent that? No,
it won't happen this season. It won't allow it because Dylan's on close to $1 million and Lockie's not even on $350. I think he's on $250 this year.
Yep.
So that's a huge discrepancy. To make it happen, someone would have to chip in the difference. So for example, what you're saying is if the Tigers got Dylan Brown for the rest of the year, they've paid him so far November, December, January, February, March, April, May.
Yeah, 2/3 maybe or whatever it is. Yep.
Yeah, 7 months. So someone still owes him. Someone still owes him around $400,000.
Yep.
That means the Tigers will have to pay $400,000 for Dylan Brown. And really, would you argue that they're any $400,000 for Dylan Brown and the Tigers get Lachlan Galvin for free? The Eels get Lachlan Galvin for free. I don't think the Tigers would come at that, and the NRL wouldn't base their market value on. They wouldn't say Lachlan Galvin's an $800,000 player. No, he's on $250,000, and that's his.
Yeah, so Michael, just before you go, then, and that's my point.
Would kick up this stink, not the Tigers and the Eels. They'd probably be happy because they feel like they're getting value either way. Even with Dylan Brown, the way you view Dylan Brown playing 6 outside Jerome would be different.
Yeah.
It'd be the other teams going, well, why did the Tigers get afforded $400,000 extra and a guy like Dylan Brown to finish off the season?
But you've highlighted where I think most people would have them. There's one thing what you're getting paid versus what your perceived value is in the market. But where I'm going to here, Michael, and it was sort of a long bow, but how do they actually, how do the West Tigers win in it next year if they let him go? How do they, if they're paying him $250 or $300, how do they actually win if the salary cap rules are the salary cap rules?
Well, they're not going to win, really, because that's why he's blown up, because they realise they've got to play for $250, play for $350 next year.
Yep.
And if they let him go, you're not going to get anywhere near the calibre of player for that money. So that's why it's turned as ugly as they have, because they've got a player on a good deal. Let's be fair. For the Tigers, it's a great deal. They were going to upgrade him for next year if he stayed. He's not, and then that's why they're so angry. It's like, if you're going to walk away, then what do we get out of this? We're going to be left here stranded. So what they want from another club is either financial compensation or a player in return. Now, if he ends up at Parramatta, I don't know what they'll offer him, or if the Dogs indeed are in, as some people are speculating. I don't think there's anyone who's willing to give up something good, because reality is he's off contract 12 months later anyway. So Parramatta's argument will be, well, why would we give up something good when we can just get him in 27 anyway? Yeah,
that's my point. We're not accommodating to the share price of these players. That's where I think we've got an issue. Michael Chammas, thanks so much, mate. You've been on fire. Go back and get some family time. We appreciate you coming on the run home with Joel and Fletch.
Appreciate it, boys. Good luck with that YouTube video as well.
Mate, you've even got your own icon up here, so you've got to go check it out. Sydney Morning Herald, Danny Wilder and Michael Chammas have been on fire. Go check that out. Plenty more still to come on the Run Home with Joel and the Scope on your Friday. You're listening to the Run Home with Joel and Scopey on this Friday. We are the Michelle Pfeiffer. We'll take you through till 8 o'clock, which includes the call of the Newcastle Knights and the Parramatta Eels. Dylan Brown, of course, is heading up the freeway to take on the team which you'll soon call home, the Newcastle Knights. We're here thanks to the Hyundai pre-for sale. You can visit your participating Hyundai dealers today. All right, 1300 01 1170. Lots of text coming through. Scopey, this one here from No Name, 504. It says, Galvin to the Dogs. Early player release with Sexton. Imagine that. Imagine if the Dogs were offered that. Would they roll that dice where they are right now?
So yesterday morning, I was discussing Sexton with the big fella, Willie Mason, and just talking about what it looks like for him. They're clearly stalling. It feels like they're stalling the Bulldogs for one of these free agent sevens that could become available, whether it be Lachlan Galvin, whether it's DC, whatever it may be. Sexton, unfortunately, is a player that's just sitting there in limbo playing really good footy. So I started thinking about it from Sexton's point of view and maybe his management. Do they just get on the front foot and start looking at another team and going, let's lock it in? And the team that I tossed up was because I assumed Galvin is going to be moving on next year. I think with what Michael's saying, they'll come to an agreement at the end of the year. If I was Sexton, imagine Sexton going...
Bumping Luai back to 6.
Bumping Luai back to 6 and playing 7 for the Tigers. I reckon he'd go good there.
Okay. You know what? I hadn't thought about what you're saying with Sexton, but it kind of feels like... And it's hard when you're in clubland, right? Because you love the club, you love the people around you, and they're saying, no, we're going to work something out. I'm kind of with you now. You're the halfback of the team. If they haven't yet worked something out, I kind of feel like, you know what? Manager, go get me a home.
It's the Fogarty situation.
Yeah,
they were stalling with him for a while at Canberra.
Yep.
They refused to re-up him and strike that clause that was in their favour, but it would have gave him $750,000 or whatever it was for next season. And they were hedging their bets. Can we get him for another year on less money? And then we've got Ethan Sanders in the... And then Manly just, it got to the point where Fogarty was like, I've just got to go get a deal elsewhere. I've been available since November 1.
Yep.
If this clause is declined. So I reckon if I'm Sexton, I'm just doing that now because he's playing really good footy, Sugar.
You know the other thing too. So they're talking about the next big halfback, and he's a talent. There's no doubt about it. Great kid, Mitchell Woods, right? So he's actually in camp with the Bulldogs this weekend, is my understanding. So if you're Toby Sexton and you're having your dinner and you're looking around and going, oh, this is the kid everyone's talking about, and you haven't signed me yet. So I can get that. I totally get that. 1300 01 1170. You're listening to The Run Home with Joel and Scope. On you, Michelle Pfeiffer on SEN, all thanks to the Hyundai Priya for sale. You can visit your participating Hyundai dealer today. Rightio, folks, let's get into this. The coal miner is off, obviously, because he is a proud new father, little George. Well done to him and Vanessa. Let's go through the round for Sportsbet. Newcastle taking on the Parramatta Eels. The Knights, well, they're parked about second, folks, when it comes to run meters. Most games, a lot of games are decided by run meters. Parramatta averaging last per metres. So for me, they have been backed into favouritism. Parramatta, no Bradman best. I do like the Newcastle Knights. Canterbury taking on the Roosters here. Where's the angle? 6.5 start. Bronson sharing the left-hand side. Very young, inexperienced right-hand side. Savala. You've got Marky Mark. You've got Bobby Toyer there as well. So there's an opportunity. Dolphins take on the Warriors. Warriors third week on the road. Trappy game for them. Cowboys and the Seagulls. Cowboys with Todd Payton have a major issue on their right-hand side. One of my best bets of the week, folks. Ben Trebojevic, back rower, left-hand side, around $4.50. Anytime try scorer, keen on that. Kale Iro hasn't missed all year so far when it comes to try scoring. He's taken on the Melbourne Storm. I think the Sharks win that in an upset. You've got, if we scroll down to the very last game, best bet of the week in my opinion, West Tigers and Benji, a big concern on the right-hand side. The best left-side player in the world is Latrell Mitchell, anytime try scorer, around $2.35. That's my best bet for Sportsbet this week.
Nobody does it easier than Sportsbet.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
My apologies. Tradie hour just about done for Blue Star exclusive offers for tradies on Australia's leading air conditioner brands only at Blue Star Air Conditioning. The run home, the New South Wales Blues, who just won the series, women's side, and the Giants netball side are all proudly supported by Hyundai. The Hyundai Preface event is on now. Visit your participating Hyundai dealer today. The Giants will be looking to bounce back on Sunday after a loss as they host the All-Sydney Derby, the Swifts, out at Sydney Olympic Park. We're looking forward to that. Amy's got the news, and then we'll catch up with the Blues champion, Kennedy Cherrington, right after this. Now, last night, the New South Wales Blues secured the State of Origin. Now, this is the first time the Blues have secured a best-of-3 series in the State of Origin era, which kicked off in 2018 at North Sydney Oval. So some 7 years later, the Blues will claim the best-of-3 series, hopefully on the way to a clean sweep. And I'm pleased to say, from the Parramatta Eels, Kennedy Cherrington, the champion. Welcome to the Run Home with Joel and Scope. How are you, mate?
Hey fam, how are you? So I'm very, very exhausted and tired. I've had no sleep, but the vibes are so high.
Oh, mate, you're a post-contact machine. That's why, because every time you engaged in the Queensland line, you kept running and running, and it sounds like you've kept running and running overnight. Is it? How was the festivities last night?
Oh, it was amazing to just, get the job done, game 1, game 2, in a dominant way. That was exactly what we wanted to make a statement out of. And the same applies for game 3. We're not going to take our foot off the pedal. We want to go one more and make it the first ever clean sweep in the Women's Series. But such a well-connected bunch, and I love State of Origin, and I love being a part of the Blues.
Kennedy, remind me if this isn't correct, but you missed out on last year's series, didn't you? Were you... Yeah. So this is your first time playing in the 3 series. What a performance off the bench. Just talk to us about how it's just thriving at the moment, the women's game, and it's a clear indication of not only what the NRLW is doing, but the quality of football last night from you girls. Kennedy, was high class considering the awful conditions, and the surface wasn't in the best nick either. It looked pretty heavy underfoot.
No. Gosh, the New South Wales weather definitely stitched us up. All week it was beautiful through training. Captain's run, same thing, beautiful. And then come warm up, torrential rain. But shout out to all the fans that came there and sat through that rain. You are so loyal, and we appreciate you guys so much. the game development of the game itself has come such a long way. We just got some numbers back, actually, and we had 2.131 million total TV national audience just for our game last night.
Awesome.
And again, game by game, we are breaking records, we are breaking down barriers, and we're competing with, other sports codes that we never would have in male-dominated sport like the AFL. So I'm so proud to be a part of this movement, as is everyone in Queensland and New South Wales. But what a time to be a part of female sport, I say.
And you must have been obviously stoked to be back in the fold and playing again in the blue jersey. But you must have been just as proud for your teammate Abby Church, who made her debut up at Suncorp, and she has had an absolute great start to her Origin career. She's 2 from 2, Kennedy.
Yeah, I know she's pretty lucky. I kind of see her as like a little bit of a smoky, like a Dylan Edwards, kind of not always in the limelight, but always very, very consistent. And she's she's my best friend outside of footy, but I'm so glad that she's on my team as well, because she's tough as nuts, and it's probably a credit to her full-time job. She's a full-time paramedic as well, so
wow.
I don't know how she balances both worlds. I am just in awe of her hard work, as is everyone in our team as well. But I'm very glad she's in the blue and gold with me at Parramatta.
Chatting with Kennedy Cherrington, who is a Blues champion. For the rest of your life, Kennedy, you will have this as an Origin Series winner. And I want to ask you about your coach, Johnny Strange, and the Doors, who are clearly a very big band in the world, but maybe great rugby league philosophers as well. They wrote this song many years ago, "People are strange when you're a stranger. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain." Well, these faces came out of the rain last night. When you're strange. Tell us about Johnny Strange.
Oh, Johnny Strange is awesome. This is probably the first time, or maybe second time I've been coached by him. He was my assistant coach at Maldives, and assistant coach at Roosters my first rookie year. But first time being my full-time coach, and I have just learnt so much. Even being at the top end of, the sport, you still want to be learning as a player, and he has just opened up so many different perspectives, avenues of how I can get better with my game. He's always been really focused on me being my authentic self, and that's what he loves about me. So I think I just kind of stepped into this confidence within who I am, and that being a player as well, because he's just like, all I want you to do is just be yourself. I support you. You're here for a reason. And he's kind of instilled that confidence within every single person in our squad of 30. And he said from the day one, this team will pick itself. This team will pick itself on form. All I have to do is just give the names into the NRL come game one. Yeah. So I love him. He's so smart, and he kind of feels like a dad at the same time.
Well, that's awesome, Kennedy, because you well and truly rewarded him with your selection, getting you back in the team. I thought you and Sarah were, arguably the difference in both games, the spark that you and Sarah Tongatuki brought off the bench. But what about the performance from Olivia Koenig? She got the medal last night. She was the player of the match. 2 tries, a try assist, 2 line breaks. 236 run meters, and I think she made about 35 tackles. She's an edge back rower for the Roosters with John Strange, Kennedy, but geez, she goes all right at lock as well.
Yeah, she goes all right. We were like, are those stats stitched up or is it incorrect? But 236 metres is crazy. We were like, hey sis, we're here off a tip. We need some more extra runs. We were just digging her up. But I'm so proud of her. She's so incredible in the middle. I think we all kind of complement each other. I think that's why the middle is so dominant within our team. We know how each other plays. We know where each other's going to be. We're always pushing on the line together. No one runs alone is kind of our mantra in the middle. If I do my job, then I know Liv's going to excel at her job and vice versa. So I think we just really, really bond well together. You can have the best team. You can have the best players, but you can't have the best team at the end of the day. So she was incredible. She was huge for us last night. And, I'm so glad that I'm on her team.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, mate. She could have had the medal around the neck at halftime. She could have walked into John at halftime and said, hey, coach, I've got 35 still to give, but I've got the medal wrapped up already. You've been a big part of this team today, by the way, Kennedy as well. Lots of texts coming through. This is probably the best one to sum it up. Kennedy's a keeper, an absolute keeper for this show. So well spoken. Love her. Go the girls. Go the Blues, says 131. So there you go.
Thanks.
Kennedy, you've probably got no idea about... I personally... So, Scopey, I've got 2 daughters and 2 sons. One daughter plays through the... she's going through the ranks, which Kennedy would have done herself.
Yep.
But the reason, in my opinion, and there's many reasons, but the number one reason, in my opinion, Scopey, that this game's flying is what these girls are doing. These girls have opened the audience up, and now it's such a big accepted game, and I think these girls here have so much to take granted for that.
Yeah, 100%. Kennedy's been
you.
a bit of a pioneer too. She's been there from the early days, and the NRLW just continues to grow. Do you feel that? I know we had a chance to catch up for Parramatta at the end of last year, Kennedy. Do you just feel it? The momentum's just getting stronger and stronger, and you see the numbers that are reflected, like you said, through the views. You get close to 20,000 turn up in torrential rain last night at Allianz when they did the same for the game 2 at Newcastle last year. It just feels like the game's in a really good spot right now for the NRLW.
It really is. It really is. And this momentum is going to continue into the NRLW season, which is coming up very soon. Our teams have started pre-season with a 2-team expansion with the Warriors and Dogs coming in, and I can't wait for that to be I think it's just gaining respect from a lot of people who probably turn down women's rugby league as kind of a thing that women don't do. But I think off the back of Origin series, there's been a lot of positive feedback from probably older men who didn't really respect us playing the game, and that's fair.
Yeah.
But I always say, give it a go, give it a chance, watch it, and then you can make a judgment. Don't make a judgment from a game that you haven't watched. So I think last night we got some tick of approvals, and I'm really, really happy that they have finally come to the dark side and accepted us here. I think just with social media presence as well, our game's a lot more different to the men's, where we love to show a little bit more personality. Well, I know I do. And we're not afraid to be ourselves. So I think that's what I really love about our playing group. Even the opposition, we just all have a common goal in growing this game and being the best female sports code in the world. That's what I see that is our shared vision.
You are right now, in my opinion.
I love that mindset too, Kenny. And I tell you what, you showed your personality last night with Chelsea Lenarduzzi as well. Tell me about the exchange.
Oh, look, honestly, people think there was words exchanged. All I was doing was laughing. That's all. This is Origin. I had to add some spice in there. We were up. She stuffed up to play the ball, and I wanted the last laugh. So that's all it was. It was all friendly banter, and, I'm always involved with some push and shove, and it's always my fault. I was like, all I was doing was laughing, guys. But it's all love. It's all love. That's rugby league, and that's Origin, I say.
We need to let Kennedy go shortly because she is celebrating the earliest Mad Monday in the history of rugby league, which happens in the 16th of May. I think Kennedy's still in the 15th of May. I think they've had a big night, the girls, and deservedly so. But Kennedy, can I share this with you because you're still only a young whippersnapper, and I've looked at your age, and you're not supposed to talk about ages on air, so I won't do that. But you most certainly could do this. Say it's 2030.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, here they come, the inaugural Perth Bears in the NRLW.
I knew you were going to say this.
From the Rockingham Coastal Sharks, the captain for the very first team, the inaugural captain, Kennedy Cherrington. How does that sound?
Oh, look, it doesn't sound too bad, but 2030 is a long way away, my bro. But I'm just trying to get through 26. But honestly, I did an interview the other day actually on the expansion, and I'm so freaking proud. And about time. You can't call it a national game without the nationals from around the country participating. So about time. I've always been on the back of the movement with bringing Western Australia into the pack. I'm a proud Western Australia junior, and I said to the NRL, if I can help grow that game, obviously if it's all right with Parramatta, then I'll always give back to where I came from. So, it doesn't sound too bad, but, I've got to focus on the now, and, we'll see what 2030 has in store.
Oh, I'd love to see the now. I reckon the now's going real good for you girls at the moment. We'll let you go, mate. Just before you do so, I want to read you a couple of texts. Guys, I love Kennedy's enthusiasm, her energy. I can't wait for the Parramatta team to play this year, and I know my 12-year-old daughter, every time Kennedy touches the ball last night, she was cheering her on. Says Cameron. This one here, how good is Kennedy? She's come a long way from playing here in Perth, says Braden. Boys, please have Kennedy on more often. She is the GOAT of women's rugby league. So, and they keep coming through. Oh, this one here, last one. Western Sydney Eagle. Boys, my two girls, one 11 and the other 8, both told me they wanted to watch the game last night. I'm not sure how they knew it was on because I didn't say anything, but they were all over it. We all watched it together. It was outstanding. Well done to Kennedy and the girls. Great stuff. So, mate, it hasn't stopped coming through. Just before you go, Kennedy, Olivia Koenig, of course, gets the Dally M points last night for best on the ground. Obvious question.
Yeah.
Who's got the Dally M points for best off the ground?
Best off the ground. Ooh, I'm going to say Sarah Togatuki. She brings the vibes, and she's actually a proper dancer. You know, all of us love to think that we can dance with a few beers, but she can actually dance. And you might have seen her preview from the Las Vegas opening.
Yes.
That was her that went viral. So, yeah, she's the same type of vibe in the Blues cap. So, yeah, she gets them Dalian points.
Mate, they're not easy to win these things. They're not easy to make these teams. So you deserve to celebrate these as hard as long as you need to. Kennedy Cherrington, and on behalf of all the listening audience, there's a heap who want to back you. Thanks so much for being a part of the Run Home with Joel and Scope today. And all the best to you, Johnny Strange, all the girls. What a huge achievement.
Thanks, fam. See you game 3. No job not done. May 29, Newcastle. Show up for the girls. Let's go.
Let's go. Kennedy Cherrington, what an absolute champion. The Run Home with Joel and Scope. Kennedy Cherrington, what a great chat she was. Kennedy is the Michael, says Jake, on this Michelle Pfeiffer. 5 hours, you got myself and the Scope. We are in hour 2. Hour 2, we've got the call of the Knights. And, of course, the Parramatta Eels. Dylan Brown takes on his future club. This is a big, big game for both sides. The Run Home with Joel and Scope, thanks to Hyundai. The pre-offer sale, it's on now. You can visit your participating Hyundai dealer today. Rightio, Scopey. Knights take on the Eels. I always think about that first ever night grand final, 2001. This game at 6 p.m, McDonald Jones Stadium. We've got the call live on SEN. Both teams sitting in the bottom 4. Loser of this, potentially staring at that utensil you find in the kitchen of the wooden variety. You don't want it. How do you see this game?
I just started thinking about this game before looking at the team list, Sugar.
Yep.
And it's got one of those feels where everything seems to be favouring the Eels for me.
Yep.
Newcastle will lose after being up 20-0 last week against the Titans. Are they going to hang over? Are they going to have a hangover? Then they lose Bradman Best. It sounds like Bradman Best is not going to play part in this game because of the hamstring injury. Already losing Greg Marzu and Leo Thompson. And then you see an improved Parramatta team, but also an improved Parramatta team that hasn't been getting wins either. They're getting Zach Lomax. Everything seems to be looking at a Parramatta Eels victory, but the odds reflect it. I think it's a genuine coin flip, and it can be one of those trap games for punters where you're like,
oh yeah,
this seems like it's an Eels win, and then you just get a desperate performance from a Knights team at home to kick off the round. With Origin just around the corner for guys like Kalen Ponga.
Yeah, I'm staying with the Knights. They are now the outsiders. Chances are you're about to lose, but I go back to this styles make fights, right? So yes, the Knights haven't been winning. And yes, run meters are a key indicator for winning, which Knights are sitting second in the league at the moment. And that's not being reflected on the ladder, and I understand that. Parramatta are running last for run meters. So I get Moses is back. I get Lomax is back. This game's in Newcastle. I'm just... And not only that, a game great celebrates game 300, Dane Gagai. So the talk's around no Bradman Best. What about the other centre, Dane Gagai? I'm all aboard the Knights train. I know everyone wants to jump on Parramatta. I'm on the Knights train.
That's another part that scares me because I'm on the Eels.
Yep.
And for all those reasons that I was talking about, here's the other part that scares me. Dylan Brown's arriving next year on a $13 million contract for 10 years. You don't think there are some players at the Newcastle Knights that have been unsettled ever since they found out that news? And there will be players, and there could be a couple that are playing against him tonight that may, or there's a very good chance that they're going to have to move on next year because of Dylan's arrival. You don't think they're going to be keen for a big game? So, like I said, I'm on the Eels, but they're just... It's one of those weird feelings where I'm like, at the start of the week, I was like, I like the Eels. And then the more I've thought about it, I'm like, geez, there's a few little tricky things in this game tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm keen on the Knights. A lot of faith has to go in if you like the Parramatta Eels tonight. And you can see the headlines, can't you? Well, Mitch Moses will play on the right-hand side. That's exactly where Nathan Cleary plays. So therefore, Dylan Brown, he plays on the left-hand side. And that's going to be the Gagai side. So he's going to be taking on Dane Gagai, who's in the centres there. Fletcher Sharp is left. Tyson Gamble. Now, Tyson Gamble is the right side half in this game. He's marking Dylan Brown. And he's wearing number 19. You can kind of see this, can't you?
That's the one. That's the matchup. You don't think he's going to be fired up? He most likely he's the player I'm talking about. It's probably going to be the casualty of a guy like Tyson Gamble, who may need to find another club because I believe Cogger's got an extra 2 years.
So,
I think Hastings is finishing up next year. So it could be a Hastings Gamble moving on to account for Dylan Brown.
So the headline could be, if the Knights win tonight against Parramatta, it'll be Gamble. Brown Gamble backfires, right? So if Gamble, who's wearing number 19, outplays Dylan Brown tonight...
Or even gets into him. Creates a bit of a ruckus. Kalen has a day out because Tyson Gamble's unsettled Dylan Brown. Because Tyson's not that half that's, going to blow you away stat-wise and come up with a couple of tries. He's all effort. Like he's got that mongrel in him, So that's the fashion in which I think Tyson Gamble and that right edge. Because Gags, you mentioned Gags, 300 gamer. No one's got Gags in their Origin team, and he's one of Queensland's best ever.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
And everyone's sort of forgotten about him. So 300, Gagai, Gamble, right edge against Dylan Brown. Ooh.
Ryan Madison expected to be back. Now, why is Ryan Madison back? It feels like he's on the outer at Parramatta. Is the reason he's not currently in the 17, but we expect him to be in the 17 come teams being announced at 5 o'clock, which will be here in about, what is that? My eyes are gone scopy, in 32 minutes or so. Would they be putting him in because you need to have him in the shop front window?
Okay, yeah, that's the his values shares are dipping at the moment. Is that the
You need him playing first grade if you want someone else to pick him up.
Yeah, and also look, Jason Riles has clearly gone with the younger generation at Parramatta and trying to get some games into him. I thought Jordan Samrani had a wow of a game last week, playing a converted winger, centre, and now playing in the back row off the bench for him. I thought he was really good. But Tony Matiali, he was supposed to make his debut. Maybe he's the player that makes way because I can't see anyone. No one really stands out in that team to make way for Ryan Madison. But I understand your thought process there with if they are looking to unload him. I believe he still has a year left on his contract as well. Playing him against a Newcastle team where he could have a bit of a day out off the bench and have a real impact. Could be at the benefit of him finding a new club next year.
Online, the rumour floating around is Matt Dury could be the man who to step aside for him. Okay, Blue Wealth Property, Australia's leading property research and investment education company. Bulldogs taking on the Roosters. Now, many people, I'm assuming, are tipping the Bulldogs, and for every reason so you should. Friday, 8 p.m. tonight, Accor Stadium. However, they've been to Magic Round. They haven't left Sydney too much. They've been to Magic Round. They've then gone down to Canberra, which I can only assume was a very taxing game last Saturday afternoon. Very taxing game. Taking on the Roosters, fresh off a bye. I have tipped the Roosters. I've tipped the Roosters to win the game. If I do have a concern, it's the right edge for the Roosters, not because they're not great players, but they are young. Hugo Savala, alongside Bobby Toya, alongside Mark Nwonganitawazi, that's a clear target for Cherry and Co. and Kickow and Burton. They've got to be going down that side.
No team has scored, well, not no team. Two teams have gone to a core against the Bulldogs in the last two games and haven't scored a point, Sugar. They've been really good.
Yeah, the last two
at a core stadium.
Yep.
Do the Roosters have the points in them? Because I know the Bulldogs are willing to play a 18-6 game, an 18-8 game, and preferably an 18-0 game if they can get that sort of contest. Are the Roosters? Are they? This young team. They're starting to see the growth of these young players like Robert Toya. Hugo Savala's been really solid for him. Sandon Smith was playing. I feel like with all the news that's going on around about Daly Cherry Evans, it's really got him going, and he's had a really good month of footy, sort of dating back to the Anzac Day clash where he was just on fire. It's a danger game. I've got the Bulldogs. It's a danger game for the Bulldogs. I've got the Bulldogs because I'm going to stick with them because I think they're the class team of the competition. And it's going to be a tough one against a much improved Sydney Roosters team.
Oh, flash scores around the grounds. Here we go. New South Wales Cup, Parramatta 20. Lead the Knights 4 into the second half. And why do we bring that up? Because our man Michael, and I'll get confirmation here, he's suggesting that Dury is playing New South Wales Cup. In jersey number 20 he is. Thank you very much, Michael, which means that Madison, who's not named, in New South Wales Cup, he will be playing. So well done, Michael. You can take that as written. Madison to play first grade tonight. As we go to the break, Chase says, Sugar, who were your try scorers this week? At the price, what are you really gambling with, Chase? I think Ben Trebojevic on that right edge for Toddy Payton's Cowboys. Major concern. A new half goes there. The centre, Vilea's having a lot of trouble there as well. I think he can score a try. And the best left player in the world, Latrell Mitchell, against Benji's right-hand side, who are also having major trouble. So Latrell Mitchell, Ben Trebojevic is the way I'm playing at Chasey, but chances are you're about to lose. We're going to be waiting right here, myself and Scope. Brief break, and then we're back right here, not moving, right after this. Welcome back to the Run Home with Joel and Scope. What time is it here, Scopey? We're approaching 5 o'clock, which means we'll have official teams for the Knights and the Parramatta Eels, who lead us out for round 11 of the National Rugby League. We are calling all the action. Let's move on to the Dolphins taking on the Warriors, Scopey. The Dolphins taking on the Warriors, and it's been a tough old month for the Warriors because they went to Suncorp for Magic Round, back to Australia, and down the hill they go to Wollongong. Now they come back up the hill, they go back home, they come back to Suncorp Stadium, take on the Dolphins. I've tipped the Dolphins reluctantly.
Yeah, I'm on the Warriors, but with no confidence.
Yep.
Similar, I think these two teams, the Dolphins showed some real signs of returning to the form that seen them knock off the two grand finalists about a month ago. And I just love Katoa. Like, I'm looking at I have more faith in the Warriors team as a whole, but a couple of individual performances from guys like Hammer, Herbie Farnworth, and Katoa really scare me in picking the Warriors.
Opening up roll call 2, by the way, for the Michelle Pfeiffer. How are you listening to it? Exact winning margin, i.e. Newcastle by 18, Parramatta by 4, whatever the case may be. Let us know your name, how you're listening, and for those who correctly select it right, you win the Chromie hat. So that's what you need to do for roll call. Check in, put your name down, who wins the game, and by how many, and preferably what you're doing. We've had so many people. What do you reckon we've had over the past on Michelle Pfeiffer's? We had one person who was doing laps in a pool, listening on their Bluetooth. I didn't even know you could do that in a pool.
I did, yeah. Until we had heard that on the show, I didn't know that you were capable. We should ask the Missile. Missile would have known, right? He'd be listening now, right?
He would be. He would be doing tumble turns as it speaks. 1300 01 1170. This battle between Metcalf Katoa is going to be a beauty. Metcalf keeps scoring for fun. 6 tries from his past 6 games. Herbie Farnworth has scored a try in 4 consecutive games as well, and they welcome back James Fisher-Harris, the Warriors. You can catch up on the chat with Andrew McFadden on YouTube, which you said you were watching that on the way in here. Development, Recruitment and Pathways Manager at the Warriors. Rightio, this game is massive. Cowboys, Seagulls, 5:30, QCB Stadium. He's been real thorn in the side of the Cowboys. I'm talking about Tom Trebojevic. They faced off in round 1. The Seagulls flogged them 42 points to 12. But since then, the Cowboys have turned around a very sluggish start to the year. Todd Payton, a lot of people have been saying, Purdue, you hate to see him in the halves. Well, he's in the halves alongside Tommy Dearden.
Yeah, you talked about that problematic right edge for the Cowboys. I think Jake Clifford's the player that's paid the price for it, Sugar. They've had a couple of opportunities where they've been targeted on that side. It looks like Vialea was a part of tackles, but maybe Todd Payton identified Clifford making the mistakes defensively. That could be the reason, because I thought offensively he's been really good.
Yeah.
And he's helped out with that long kicking game because Tommy Dearden doesn't really have that. This is the battle, the halves battle. We've got DCE versus Dearden, and all the murmurs, pardon me, around who's going to win the 7 battle. It could come down to this game. And I think it could be a bit of a revenge game for the Cowboys. I think they could get a bit of a get-back for the round 1 performance where they were absolutely blown away from this Seagulls team. But the form line for the Cowboys is so much better than Manly at the moment.
Do you see Dearden as a halfback? Do you think he is a game manager, so to speak?
Not necessarily. I think the combination of 6 really matters for a guy like Dearden. So, for example, I think it'll take some time to build that combination with Purdue. But if you were to go to Dearden with an experienced campaigner in big moments like Munster at Origin, I think that's where maybe Billy feels more comfortable. Because Munster's been seen there, done everything, been with different combinations. So if Billy does go that way, and for whatever reason, DC doesn't get to retain not only the skippers, the captaincy, but also the 7 jersey, then this is very and you're talking about we're talking about Tommy Turbo too, and about how well he's been going against the Cowboys. Geez, Shrinky's in really good nick at the moment. Scotty Drinkwater.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing arguably the best footy of his career, I think. Like the spell, and more so defensively as well. What he's doing defensively and, some of the courage he's playing with in kick defence has been really good.
Roll call's well and truly open. We've got the Chromie hats specifically designed by Brian Fletcher. He personally designed these hats. If you nail who wins by how many, you'll get a Chromie hat. You only get one chance at it, by the way. Lundy says Knights by 8. 167 says Parramatta by 8. The Wagga boys are getting involved with Parramatta by 8 as well. Matt says Newcastle by 4. I'm enjoying a cold beer after a long week. Good on you, Matty. Well deserved. Mort from Mort Kembler. Present, he says, checking in for roll call. I'm cleaning the pool in my Cosy bottoms, budgies, yes. XOXO. So he's in loving mood at the moment. More from Mort Kembler. Thor writes, lads, Knights by 8. Just preparing some tea for tonight. So I can kick back at 6 o'clock for kickoff with a cold one, listening through the app. Thor, the Bathurst Panther. That's the type of thing we want.
That's the play.
Roll call. Let us know how you're listening to the call tonight. And, of course, who you think will win to win an exclusive designed personally by Brian Fletcher, a Chromie hat. 1300 01 1170. Sharks in the Storm. Sharks Stadium in the daytime. The Storm, almost unbeatable. 4 from 4, averaging over 50 points. In the night time and in rain conditions, not so. They've won 2 from 5. So that seems to be their kryptonite, is the rain, is the nighttime games. They take on the Sharkies. I'm tipping the Sharks.
I'm going the Sharkies too, Sugar. I think just because it's at Shark Stadium, it's one of those ones where I just couldn't really pick a winner, and I could see pros and cons for both teams, and then it just ended up being that it's at Shark Stadiums to split it, and I think we talked about the form of Drinky just before. Geez, Nico's in good nick at the moment as well. I think he's playing really... I think he's benefited from not being in Origin contention this year. He can just go out there, play his best footy for the Sharks, put Origin chat on the back burner for this year. He even come out and said that at the start of the week, and then give himself the best possible opportunity to play well for the Sharks, and therefore put his name back in the hat for next year.
Alrighty, folks. And, of course, Harry Grant, a chance of coming back ahead of Origin. Dally M halves battle. You've got Kennedy there as well, the fullback. He's the current leader. Nico Hines, as you said, in great form. Munster and Hughes. It is going to be an absolute beauty there at Shark Stadium. Roll call's open, folks. We're getting close to handing over the reins to ourselves for the call of the Knights and the Parramatta Eels. Adelaide Sad Dragon is there having a couple. Newcastle by 4. Cheers. A few people tipping the Knights. We've got, who else we got coming up there? 288. Robbo's in orange. He's having a good time up there with the AirPods in. Good to have your company. Cameron as well. Wollongong Crow. 529, 829. Tony from Yaguna's got the Knights by 4. They're all charging through, folks. We appreciate that. What's the Hodgenator up to? I'm on the beers after a long week at work. The Weber's fired up for smoky wings. Knights on a Friday night at home by 7, says the Hodgenator. Keep the roll call coming through, folks. We've got the exclusive hats designed personally by Bears Head Brian Fletcher. The Run Home with Joel and Scope, thanks to Hyundai. The pre for sales on now. You're listening to the Run Home with Joel and Fletch. Maybe you're watching the Run Home with Joel and Fletch with the Scopey in the chair. We are broadcasting live from the Sattler Webster studio here in the bowels of SEN. And, it's a salubrious studio, this one here. These blokes here have waltzed in. They've been here for about 10 minutes, and they are commandeering this beautiful set, which we have just snuck in behind enemy lines. By the way, look at this hat. If you're watching on YouTube, and Scopey's got one on as well, it's the Chromie hat, designed by Brian Fletcher. How would you explain the Chromie hat, Scopey? What do you think about it?
It's sort of like that the trucker hat vibe.
Yep.
Got a bit of a graphic with a white background. Nice and simple, simplistic. Crow there, Chromie on top. It just works. It's a nice colour scheme too.
It's a great colour scheme. Very neutral, if you want to call it that. Now, folks, all you need to do for roll call is to check in on the text line 0457 736 736. But I'm in New Zealand. How do I do that? 8833 is the way to do that.
You know what it reminds me of? I was just looking it up there on the screen. It looks like it's got a bit of a Western suburbs magpie feel about it, with the crow instead of the magpie.
Yeah.
Like a vintage sort of nostalgic Western Magpies feel about it. There you go.
Okay, we'll report in for duty just like Wombat from Warragamba listening in. The truck tonight is working on the West Harbour Tunnel. Para by 6, says Wombat from Warragamba. Knights by 2, Gagai to score. Ashfield Warriors reporting in for duty. Roll call in the work van heading home. Para by 2. Lomax converting an Addo car try for the win, says Cam. They're all coming through. Damien the putter pest. They are all being collated. So if we don't even read them all out, we won't have time to get to reading them out. But all you need to simply do is you get one crack at it, one throw at the stumps, report in for roll call, nominate your name. How you're listening to the call tonight from 6 o'clock, which is myself and Scope. You can listen via the app, so maybe you want to watch it and coordinate that, because with the SEN app now, you can choose your time delay, so you can marry it all up. Bobby and the Gong's present. He's having a beer. He's got the barbecue. Sam boys in hand. So that's what he's doing. Lots of text coming through. 1300 01 1170, text 0457 736 736. Bronco Brewers reporting in for duty, enjoying family movie night while listening to you in my earpods. Oh, sneak go.
Movie night with the earpods on.
I've got to say, Bronco Brew, I've done the same thing. Yeah, it's a little bit of a sneak go. Anyway, 1300 01 1170 is the way to have your say. Scotty's checking in from bad traffic and ride, listening on the way home to Forestville, says Scott. On the way to my last job, Para by 10. And Dunny's there. So Dunny's putting in the big strides on this particular afternoon. We've got plenty more still to come, don't we, Scopey?
Ready to go, mate. Getting ready for this Parramatta Eels game. Well, for me, it's a Parramatta Eels game because I'm on the Eels, Sugar, you're on the Knights. But a very intriguing battle. And with all the storylines in it, 300 games, Dylan Brown, ready for Sunday. Those Sunday games coming up as well?
Yeah, breaking news, though, before we get to that. Fox League reporting that the Panther trainer, which happens to be Spud Elford, the great premiership winning player Spud Elford, and the Cowboys trainer have been slapped a ban. A 1 week ban and some dosh as well for watering the ball. I still don't know what that actually does. It must do something.
Yeah, well, that's what we said last week. Like,
does it make it? You know what I actually think it does? I actually think it makes the ball. It's not about them dropping the ball. My best guess is that it makes the stitching heavier, so you can kick the ball further.
Oh, I disagree. I reckon it's the opposite. I reckon they're clearly putting water on the ball, so the player catching it will drop the ball off the kick.
Really?
That is the intention.
Yeah, I disagree.
It didn't play out that way, but that's what I think he was doing.
See, I think by the time the revolution of the ball, the stitching's still wet, and therefore, I don't know, who knows?
Whether that happens or not, Sugar,
yeah.
I'm just talking more about the intention of the trainers.
Yes.
And that's what I think they were trying to do, and therefore I'm happy for them. I didn't think they were going to get suspended. I think that's a bit heavy, but a heavy fine to the clubs I thought was going to be the play. But they're going to miss the. Is that a big out too? The head trainer for a team who does all the messaging.
I don't know. No. I need to know. I need to get to the bottom of why. Selwyn Cobbo, by the way, before we close the show, and we're not going anywhere, folks. Michelle Pfeiffer will take you through to 8 o'clock. But Selwyn Cobbo has opened negotiations with rival clubs. Peter Bedell reports through the Courier Mail and the Telegraph, the Daily Telegraph. Cobbo has opened negotiations with rival clubs in the strongest sign yet. The Broncos are facing a huge $1 million battle to retain the Queensland Orange Star. Now, Selwyn wants to stay, but he's open to leaving the Broncos, his agent said. It doesn't report who the agent is here, but of course through Code Sports you can click on all the players and you can find out who they are. My only thing is this. Cobbo's not a player who has got a long history of dominating the Dally M points. So if you're not that player, how can you command $1 million? I know he's a gun, and I know there's so much upside in the kid as a player. But can you actually pay that before seeing it?
No, the Broncos can't pay $1 million for Cobbo.
Can anyone?
We can all agree he'd be a great pickup for a good price if you could get him for the right price.
The same with Dylan Brown, though. Dylan Brown has not got a long history of dominating the lofty parts of the Dally M, but he's getting 1.3 a year.
But even Dylan's probably got more. It's a more crucial position.
Yep.
I don't think Selwyn's a fullback. I think he's an outside back. He's a centre winger hybrid, which is valuable.
Yep.
But nowhere near the price of a fullback /6 or 7.
So what's the number for? What are you paying?
I would be stoked to pick up Selwyn at $750.
Yeah, I agree.
That would be my price. And then that gives you the ability to not stress too much if he only plays on the wing.
Yep.
But also if there's some injuries, you chuck him in at the centres. And then at an absolute pinch, he plays some fullback for you as well.
All right, the Boffins at SEN, who will be staying with us for the whole night with all the stats. They bring us that. They're reporting that Pacific Sports Management, the Orr brothers, have Selwyn Cobbo. So that's how that's shaping up.